Hello and welcome, folks, to another edition of RSF Radio. I'm your host, Joe Monday, and I know the theme song says a new challenger approaches, but this is an old friend, hitbox Sora. What's up, man?
Hey, hello guys. What's up? What's up, Joe? It's been a while since I've been last on.
Yeah, it's weird how time works, where like I say it as if like this was just like a month ago, but really it was like probably over a year ago at this point, which like that's a scary thing that time can kind of slip through my fingers.
No, same here for sure.
In that time I became a hitbox player, so like
by complete coincidence and accident, but
yeah,
all the same.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, shout outs to Delzone, he's the man. Hooked me up with a Gen 1 hitbox, so I don't even have the detachable USB or any of that. So I got the old shit.
The old shit works just as well.
Honestly, it's just as fun. And I know that I don't know if I've given like reviews of it at like every week during the tournament where I curse it and say this thing is fucking trash. No one should use a hitbox. No, I don't actually say that, by the way.
You're totally fine. I will quote Rick and said, "You're totally entitled to your opinion, man."
I mean that, yeah, sure, but at the same time, I don't know, I've been using it, and it was one of those things, as a Geef main, and a lot of people say this about hitboxes, where they're like, I like the hitbox, but what do you think? 360s are like impossible. To which, after I got my hands on it, I was like, at first I'm like, oh yeah, this is not good. And then after like a couple hours with it, after a couple hours of practice every day, it was like, oh, wait a minute. This actually, I can do this quicker and faster. And easier in some sense. And it actually made sense with the layout. There was parts of it where I was like, why are these buttons so small? Why are they so close together? But then it all started to make sense where I was like, what if I used my right hand to put directions in? I'm not used to it. Like, I hit this mind explosion of like, wait a minute, unlocked something within me. The design of the hitbox made sense, but that's all the good shit I'm saying about a hitbox on this podcast. No more pushing I'm not going to sling your product anymore. No, sir.
Fine,
hitboxes are cheating. I'm actually cheating every week. Everybody should know that. That's a fact.
Totally fine. I cheat as well.
I'm a cheater, the pumpkin hitbox eater. But no. So the reason why I wanted to have you on the show this week is to kind of clear up the air of what has really been going on with hitboxes. And when I say hitboxes, I mean not hitbox branded because, hey man, I'm really sorry that hitbox just, you got Kleenexed, man. Everything's a hitbox, and that's just unfortunate. Honestly.
I think I told my internal team, we take the good with the bad. Like, the fact that people associate us with any button controller ever known to man at this point is fantastic. But there's also the potential for backlash, right? Like, so yeah, no, we have to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, like this potential situation that happened, and we're gonna run down the timeline here in a minute. If anyone has not been following this debacle of what happened at Combo Breaker last weekend, and Daigo and his Gaffer box and hitbox controllers, and how they even work and what the ruling is, because there's rules to this CPT where there's hundreds of thousands of dollars up for grabs, and rules that people should probably follow and not cheat, but We'll get the rundown there. But before we do, I always like to, when I have a guest on, even if I hate their guts like hitbox, I'm being mean. I'm sorry. I'm being so mean.
No, keep going. I live in the hate at this point, especially after this weekend. Go ahead.
I know. I'm only laying it on thick because it's already there. You're like at your peak, and you really don't need me to sling on this shit. But I revel in it. Oh, it's so good. But no, what I like to do is let my guests pitch whatever they have going on. And I know you've been wrapped up in this whole situation, but anything else, maybe next events that you're gonna show up at, what's Hitbox got going on?
So, Hitbox officially CEO and Evo are pretty much our plans to go to next.
Nice.
And by going to next, meaning full booth and everything, when we weren't dealing with Daigo and hitbox related legality stuff, we were actually really having fun at that booth at Combo Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
The big things that we wanted to do this year, and not to sound salesy, is I didn't really care as much if we sold anything at the booth, being honest with you, because I cared more that people got to try on a hitbox. Because for the life of me, I've always heard this statement: I've always wanted a hitbox, but I've never had the chance to try it. Mm-hmm. It has been haunting me since 2017, 2018. And when we entered this year, pre-Evo, we wanted to fix that. So that's why we are taking our booth on the road, so to speak. Last year, we just did Evo. Now we're going to do Combo Breaker, CEO, Evo, maybe. Who knows? But yeah.
No, that was kind of like the last time I had you on the show. It was after Evo. You were, you had like sold out, pretty much like you're back ordered to whatever, and it was all because you showed up to Evo with the actual controllers. And every time I've heard about the booth at from the Hitbox people, it's all been really positive stuff. People get their hands on it, and which to me that's actually kind of buck wild. That actually doesn't make sense to me, because the first time that I touched a Hitbox, I was like, this is trash. And if I were to, and I'm just being honest, and if it was just me at like an event where I just had a couple of minutes where I was like, I'm free, let me check this out. And then used it in between sets, especially of like in between using a stick, I'd be like, I kind of don't get it. But like, it to me is actually kind of incredible that people have responded so well, which is awesome for you guys. I'm actually super glad for you, and like glad that people are discovering new ways of ease of input and things that make sense with their hands. That's all very good. It's just like funny to me that your roadshow even works, honestly. But
I know it's a surprise to me too. But like, we had people coming back like 3, 4, 5 times just throughout the event, and ending up making the purchase. Like, it was literally a 3-day sales process for some people, where they were like on Sunday night, and like, okay, he sold me, I'm buying one. I'm like, fantastic. Great.
You know what? That actually makes a lot more sense. You know what? Because it took me like 3 days to actually get it. So if I like had it on day 1 and then came back day 2 to be like, oh yeah, okay, all right. And if there was someone there with, you know what? You've sold me on your pitch again. Fuck. Damn it. Okay. Shit.
Hey, right. Man, we just try. Let's put it that way. I'm happy that it works.
Fine, fair enough. But the next place you'll be CEO. You'll be down there in Daytona, and down there at Evo. So I'll see you again eventually down the road.
For sure. First time at CEO, by the way. I am expecting a show and a half.
Speaking
from just what I've heard
of CEO, I saw someone post, and this was just like a Twitter thing, where I saw a friend be like, "This was actually Jackie from Canada." The Vancouver, if you
Jackie O'Manor.
Yeah. She was like, "Hey, America, why is it so expensive to fly to Daytona?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not like a fly to hub in the U.S. It's more like Orlando, and then maybe like I was like thinking in my head, what would be cheaper to do, of like fly directly to Daytona or fly to Orlando, get like a rideshare Uber with a bunch of people to get down there, or like what does it cost to rent a car and then stay slightly outside of the event and drive in every week, because then you don't have to stay in Daytona, so that's a plus. I don't know. Like,
I don't know either.
But we're only a month away. We don't have time to plan these things anymore.
Honestly, I will say this as someone who's booked many trips for many players at this point. 3 weeks out is the best time, and typically the best time to purchase plane tickets are either Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night.
That is exactly true. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you're buying plane tickets. It might be like a a $20 swing or something like that. But if you're going to save money by booking on a Tuesday,
might as well take it.
Hell yeah. That I have found to be 100% true, which is weird. And also, don't fly Spirit. Anyway.
Oh, no. Like, dude, like, if someone like books a ticket going to an event and they want to choose Spirit, fine, that's their money. But if I'm the person booking the ticket, I don't ever book anyone in Spirit. Friends, don't let friends book Spirit. I'm just gonna say that.
I know. It's one of those things where I will, full disclosure, Didi Mokov, we just sponsored him to Combo Breaker. He did pretty well out there and had a pretty good time. And Mike Too Strong, I'm sure they leveled up and got. Holy shit! Combo Breaker was a fucking tournament, by the way. Getting out of pools was a fucking miracle in itself.
A feat.
And then, like, if you looked at round one after pools, I was like, oh, this is just all the good players from like the past decade. This is just all of them right there in a line, and they have to play each other. It's, ooh boy, Combo Breaker was a nightmare, and I'm sure that's the case for pretty much every major. But it seemed like everyone traveled to Combo Breaker, and it seemed like a great event, honestly.
It was a great event.
Yeah, unfortunately, couldn't be there myself. But Didi was like, yeah, I'll fly Spirit. I don't care. I'm like, it'll like kind of work out to be the same if it's like this other airline. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm cool. I was like, okay, man. Like, I don't like doing this, but for you, because he said he was okay with it and like he was like down for it. He was like, no, let's do it. I'm like, ugh, all right. I even warned him, but. Shout outs to Didi Mokov and Mike Too Strong for their efforts at Combo Breaker. Thank you for representing our Street Fighter. And also anyone who like got jackets and stuff and got t-shirts, that support is more valuable than the dollar amount. The dollar amount that goes towards the sponsorship is also super good, but also just like, I don't know. It's nice to like know who's in the family. I mean,
for sure.
I mean, Sora, you were saying even before we started, you're like, I wore my Geef Gym shirt today, and then you hit me up, and I was like, oh, that's weird how like serendipitous that kind of was earlier today.
Dude, I rock your merch all day. It's pretty.
Shout outs to Quasimodox on the design. Seriously, that shit is super good. But anyway, enough friend talk. Let's get into the business, because something happened this weekend, and I wanted to have you on the show to get your unique perspective on this, because one, I trust your, not only because like we've known each other for a while, I guess that's like full disclosure, I'm not like a journalist, so who gives a fuck. I don't give a shit if someone calls me out for like weird dumb collusion shit. I don't get paid to do this. What are you guys talking about? Because you're knowledgeable about the products. One, first and foremost. Two, you were on the ground in that situation of maybe trying to figure out what was even allowed to be used on site, and you probably worked with people to get controllers in their hands of things that were Pro Tour viable. I'm doing air quotes for people who can't see. So maybe not very quickly, we're going to go beat by beat what happened this weekend, and at any point, yeah, if you want to like give your opinion on this, I'd be happy to hear it. So first and foremost, a couple of months back, Daigo has picked up a lowercase hitbox type of hitbox. It is a certain thing called a Gaffro box. Before this whole shebang, I didn't know what a Gaffro box was. I didn't know the company. I was like, whatever. He's using basically a hitbox that he can get his hands on. Fine. And I saw a lot of people out there being like, whoa, like Daigo's using a hitbox, like everybody look out. It was one of those things where this is like FGC Twitter bullshit, where you see people who are familiar with the Japanese FGC be like, Japan got hitboxes, look for bans, folks, like watch out. And this was like months ago. So he's got the gaffer box. He's using it. And from his reports, his agent talked to the people at Combo Breaker. He talked to the people at Capcom Cup, and it seems that he got the okay from everyone that his type of input control, his type of controller. Let's just call them controllers, because I don't want to say hitbox. It's one of those things where I don't want to mince words, but I'm also going to have trouble doing it because you've been Kleenexed. So it's hard.
Well, again, it's totally fine. Right. We've been, even in my news thing, I called it a hitbox type controller, or box type controller.
Sure. I'll just call it a controller. He used this. He got the okay of this type of controller. Great, and this was like a couple months ago, or like a month ago. So, in the meantime, though, he was streaming, and if you don't follow FGC Translates, what is the actual Twitter? I should actually get the Twitter account.
FGC Translated or something?
Yeah, FGC Translated is what you want. Follow that on YouTube, especially, because what you get is these, like, sometimes extended cuts of Japanese players' streams. But on Daigo's stream, he explicitly says, and this is a quote, if there are bad rules, you take advantage of them. Otherwise, they won't change. That's why we should try to exploit bad rules as much as possible. So he was like, if you use a hitbox and if that's the easiest way to do it, then why not push that limit? And to a point, like, I think he has a point of, like, if the rules are vague, push the boundaries so that more stringent rules would be applied, or maybe stringent rules won't be applied. And he goes on to talk about, like, other rulings that this applies to. This is not just talking about input methods, but, I mean, input methods is something that, generally speaking, the FGC has kind of decided on, like, years back. This is like years in the making. This isn't this isn't really a new thing, like, in my opinion. But, like, this is just because, like, kind of lived through the whole, like, Mad Catz renaissance, and then hitbox controllers coming out and people making their own and deciding, oh well, people like using keyboards. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it. So he says all that stuff about using hitboxes and brings up other Japanese players' opinions on it, but it kind of shows it off. And you see like viral tweets of, like, he's throwing sonic booms in a single frame and he's charging again, and all of that. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm looking at that being like, yeah, that's kind of old hat. I mean,
I was about to say that.
The way that his controller works is different from the way that branded hitboxes work. Would you, at this point, would you want to explain the difference between the Gaffer box and the hitbox, and why it is that he can continue to hold left, press right, and press an attack button to throw a boom, and then release, basically to be immediately charging again?
Sure. And before I explain, the article that I posted on the Hitbox Arcade is the 100% pure factual statement.
Right.
What I'm about to say will adhere to that. Yeah. What I will say will adhere to that, but I'm also going to insert my own opinion on it. Okay. And so, if I am factually mistaken at any point, that's because I'm human and nothing less. All right.
Send all complaints to hitbox_Sora at twitter.com.
Very correct. Okay. So, the difference between Gaffer box and hitbox. Number one, the Gaffer box, first of all, we didn't see it. He never brought it to Combo Breaker. Even when he stopped by the booth, he never brought a Combo Breaker. So we never really had the chance to dissect, test, or anything like that. This is all from pretty much secondhand information from either the staff on site or from, like, our research on the internet. Using second input priority. What that means is that on a branded hitbox, if you press left and you press right, you get SOCD neutral.
So,
it's just
what is SODC?
SOCD is simultaneous opposite cardinal directions. All hitboxes come with, for the lack of a better term, filters on that, where you cannot press left and right at the same time. Mm-hmm. If you press left and right at the same time, you get neutral, no matter what the game otherwise says.
Mm-hmm. And that is just straight out of the controller. Doesn't matter.
Straight out of controller. Now, the gaffer box has second input priority, meaning that if you press left first, you will get right while still holding left. So all he has to do to throw a sonic boom is hold left for whatever the charge time is, press right plus attack, let go of right, and he's immediately charging again. I should say this, that is possible in the hitbox, but you have to just frame input the right button while letting go of the left button, which is super impractical. Mm-hmm. On a gaffer box, you really don't have to think about it. So he's going to get those quote-unquote one-frame sonic booms every single time.
And to be clear, that really is quote-unquote one-frame sonic booms, because what his device is allowing for is like a leniency, basically, of being able to press forward in a punch within some kind of amount of frames and then release them. It very likely, like within human time, is not like one frame of he's just pressing them both for one frame at the exact same time and releasing them. It just allows for that, let's say.
Right. It technically allows for that. It allows for the fastest possible input. Right. The one frame here is just like a frame of reference, so to speak, no pun intended, where, yes, you are getting it at the fastest possible time the game allows you to recognize. So that's difference number one, the second priority. The second difference, which I personally wasn't able to validate as solidly as the first one, although staff on site at Combo Breaker did say this, his buttons, like his extra buttons, are pretty much up buttons, I believe. And this is, again, secondhand information, where the placement and or the way it's wired, one of the two, allows him to pretty much do frame flash kicks. Or not one button flash kicks, I should say, because all he has to do is hold down, or press down rather, and then press that button, and he can immediately get the flash kick.
I mean, and you don't know this for sure, but was the button itself, for clarity, the one button on like the right hand tied to up plus a kick?
I wish I could be clearer than this. Yeah. I saw the layout and it didn't make sense to me, and I wish I saw the gaffer box in person. Okay. The staff on site, which I will not name because I'm afraid that I'm mincing his words.
There's good staff at Combo Breaker. By the way, like the people who run Combo Breaker, and like not just Rick, but everyone else involved, like is top of the line. Like,
right, 100%.
Like,
I'll say that 1,000 times over.
I'm not being paid to say that, and like I'm not even. Is one of the, like, just because I'm friendly with Rick and those people online in real life, in real life spaces, none of that shit. I am earnestly saying, like, if you want to look for like top of the line run tournaments and that puts players first, like those are the people you want to talk to. Honestly,
agree. But, cannot agree enough.
But
in that spirit,
yeah, go ahead.
Gonna walk back this statement I was going to make. Let's just say this: lead people down like a path that I really don't know where it goes to.
Okay.
The extra buttons, box, staff on Combo Breaker had a problem with. What that problem was, no one really gave that clear of an answer.
Right. Okay. That's fair. Okay, so that was the case for the gaffer box, that it like broke whatever rules, and they said no gaffer box.
No gaffer box, yeah.
At Combo Breaker. But that wasn't what people saw first. The thing that everyone else saw first, after like this whole reaction to his stick, after like Twitter and this was like, honestly, it felt like it was either Thursday or Friday of like Friday morning, Thursday night of it was probably Thursday night, that weekend of Combo Breaker, where like people were really loud at Combo Breaker, hashtag Combo Breaker, at Capcom Fighters, like all that, hitting all the key areas, and to make all of those people go, I guess we have a crisis on our hands that we need to solve within, less than 24 hours, and not everyone is even on site at this point. Dang. Oh, dang.
let me tell you the quick anecdote from the hitbox side.
Okay.
So, flashbacking to like a month back, we wanted to be at Combo Breaker for a complete different reason, which was just to really be just there to demo the product. Our focus was just to get the sense of players. Even discussion that, maybe Combo Breaker may not work because of various logistical reasons on our end, namely being we didn't even have stock at Combo Breaker because we were running out of our actual physical stock. We decided to go anyway. Forward to like the Tuesday of or Wednesday of the week, news, people were starting to blow it up, and we're like, oh my god, what is the world coming to? And people were talking about like Daigo can instant flash kick on reaction, and Daigo can, I'm like, and from what you said earlier, this is like 7-year-old tech that people are starting to panic about because a player of Daigo's caliber suddenly picked it up.
Right.
Much the crux of the issue, right? Like all the tech problem with, other than that second priority input, we already pretty much covered on our YouTube channel. So people panicking about it now, we were like, it's like we're going to be the Bible at this event, essentially, or the dictionary, I should say, of people just asking us, what in the world is Daigo using, kind of thing. So that's the background up until Thursday. Oh, the last thing. We knew at the same time you guys did that Daigo's Scaffold box got banned. And that was the morning of Friday before polls.
Right. Which...
prior to that, we were assuming that he was allowed. Biggest fear at that point is if Daigo wins with that box, we're going to have some answers to, we're going to have some questions to answer the following week. So, but then he got banned and we are now completely on a different timeline. But yeah, that's as far as Thursday.
Yeah. Okay, because that's honestly that's kind of how I expected it to go. I was like, oh great, you actually have hitbox people on site. Like they can just talk to you guys. It's like they know the differences. Like go ahead and work it out. However, not what ended up happening. And this is the reality that we live in. This was sent. When was the 23rd? Was the 23rd? Okay, so this was Thursday, where Capcom said, and this is on their Twitter account, currently there are questions about controllers allowed at Combo Breaker. Based on current information, we are not able to clearly answer these questions based on current CPT rules. We will look into this matter further and provide an update as soon as possible. We will also consider updating CPT rules accordingly if necessary. Thank you. That was like the statement that they made of like, we're looking into it, guys. Like, and this was Thursday. And then Friday morning, and this is that Friday morning, I think I'll just, if you'll bear with me, I'll read the statement in its entirety because it's pretty.
I think it deserves to be read. Yeah.
Yeah. And see if you guys can make sense of this. There's parts of it that might be hard to parse, but we'll get into that in a minute. To all Combo Breaker CPT attendees, we have received inquiries about controllers from participating players. However, with the current Capcom Pro Tour rules, a question around the controllers used cannot be answered clearly. While Capcom respects the diversity of the controller, we feel that the use of the controller gives the competition an advantage that does not follow the spirit of the CPT. We, in close consultation with Combo Breaker Tournament Organizer, TO, concluded that we cannot accept the use of a controller that does not conform to the CPT spirit at this event. Also, regardless of the Combo Breaker situation, the rules of the local tournament will be respected for all controllers used in that tournament, as long as the CPT rules cannot address clearly. Therefore, we ask for the understanding and cooperation of all the participating competitors to follow the rules and decisions established by the TO. We will continue to consider controller usage rules and potentially revising CPT rules. However, please understand that more information and time is needed in order to make an appropriate decision regarding the use of controllers in question. I had to read that very slow. In my mind, reading that out loud, I was like, I need to slow down because this wording is stumbly bumbly. There is... What was your gut check on this? What was your take on this? I have a take,
sure,
and I'm sure the people who have just heard that with their ears, this worm has entered their brain, and they're going, "What?"
yeah. Sure. I'll give you the take, and this was the take on site. Take was, number one, Combo Breaker was going to decide. Mm-hmm. So, whatever happened to the box, right?
Right.
Number two, that to be able to change the rule, or rather create the rule, because the rule is non-existent. Right. Create the rule if they choose to moving forward. That's kind of the most murky part about it, because I don't know whether they actually want to. Because they haven't, right? This is from precedence. I'm not assuming anything from the people, but like hitbox have been around for a long time. These people are not in a vacuum. So I'm assuming that they didn't have any inclination up until now. And the only thing that changed between now and then is Daigo. So I'm not even sure that they want to at this point. Right. Rule for box controllers have existed. There's been community standards, and I actually wanted to make that point very clear. Yeah. The community standard essentially established way back in 2012.
Yeah, this is decided. Like, there has been no rulings on this stuff. You don't go to your local and then that's like this is just stuff that we've figured out over time based on like a long history of like how these things even came to be. But like roughly around 2012 is when things were like, okay, we agreed on this. At least in the US, yes. Let's say.
Definitely at least in the US.
And EU.
But essentially around 2012, that was Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. Mm-hmm. 3-time. And this was important in the timeline for Hitbox because that's when the whole left-right situation was happening. We implemented SOCD on Hitbox. There was a lot of debate still after we implemented the SOCD cleaning. And Evo came down, being the leading authority, really, for tournament rulings at the time, even now, essentially said Hitbox are allowed. So it is a community standard. We have used Evo rules as a guidepost, but there is currently no hard rule about how hitboxes should operate. Now, I know there's a rule in Evo's rule set right now that says smash boxes are allowed. And there may be one that says hitboxes are allowed at some point, but the operation of hitbox type controllers, I do not know. My research has told me no, it doesn't. Right. And that's probably the same conclusion that everyone else came to as well.
Yeah, because it doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty of homebrew situations, which can be wired anyway, which can have any additional buttons that tie inputs to, like, for the right hand on other, who knows how it could be wired. To that end, I should also bring up that regular, like, DualShock 4s, if you, like, right out of the box, you can hold one direction. You can do the same thing you can do with Daigo's hitbox, the Gaffro box, with a regular DS4.
100%.
You can just do it. You can even go back, and if you want to tie the left bumper and left trigger to a direction, you can do that if you want. You can do that with a controller. Precedent, though, says that, well, you can tie those buttons to a direction, but if that direction also hits an attack button at the same time, that's no good. That's a no-go. That is something that the community standard has always been like, well, that's kind of cheating. Don't do that. If it's just a direction, fine. Regardless, they make this statement. And I kind of understood how people were like, this is kind of a nothing statement. This is bullshit. And I will admit, my gut reaction was like, this is a nothing burger. This is like, fuck this. And after I got over my initial, like, fuck this reaction, I actually went, you know what? This is actually a very smart statement. And I'll explain why I think that. And it was specifically because, one, even if they had access to all this information, which, like, they could have prior to, they're not going to make up a ruling that day within 24 hours. That would be nonsense to assume that they could make up a fully comprehensive ruling for various types of controllers within 24 hours. Just not going to happen. So what they do is just say, hey, whatever this event wants to agree to, let it rock. Just pass the buck on to the community that runs that event to say, hey, what do you guys want? We'll do what you want. And a part of me is like, you know what? That's like a major corporation being like, hey, people who built this thing from nothing, hey, Combo Breaker, who built this shit from nothing. I mean, they built it kind of on top of, there's a long history to Combo Breaker. Listen to the episode with Rick to talk about the whole history. But, like, people who worked on building this thing to be like, whatever you guys decide is good for the community is what we will go with. And a part of me is like, you know what? That's okay. I'm okay with that. That might be what they mean by spirit of competent.
Yeah.
the spirit of the CPT. The CPT spirit. That's the CPT spirit that I know is passing all the responsibility on to the owners of the event. Because,
hey, man, I mean, that puts trust on another level, I'm just going to say.
Sure.
You're right. It was a smart statement in that they couldn't probably come up with a rule in 24 hours.
No, like an all-encompassing rule. I actually don't think we're going to get one, and I actually don't hope that we get one, because there's a part of me that, and this is like the bad side of me, who's like, let's actually never get a rule, so that, because I know for a fact that at some point someone's going to try and do a cheaty controller that will make them cheat. Like one that is wired all fucked up on the inside. It'll be a homebrew situation that like ties directions and buttons to the same. Like who the fuck knows what it's gonna do? And their ass is gonna get called out. And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, fuck that guy up, make him not want to show his face. I'm okay with that. Like, just like
you just want to take out your anger at someone now. Come on.
Hey man, there's a part of me that likes a good public shaming for someone doing a bad. When someone does a bad, there's a public shaming that the FGC is very good at. We want a public shaming. That is very true. Want.
That is very true.
And sometimes we put a lot of public shame on things that super do not deserve public shame because we thirst for a public shaming. Like no one in this situation did anything that is worth about. Like things were run super professionally and like kind of really well done in my opinion. Like at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what, good job. Things are fine. Like there's really no mud to throw. People will throw mud because they're hungry for it, but let's get someone who's got a cheaty box and then let's fucking roast them. Let's fucking roast them.
That's kind of why part of the reason why I already embraced that moniker, just as a side note, because I'm like I'm all of the philosophy that if someone's calling you something, you just steer into it and then it becomes nonsense. And like, yeah, we are cheating. My question to you, why you're not using one yet? But that's that's besides the point. For us, and I wanted to go into that too, because you were saying like you were hoping that there was going to be no rules. For us, I mean, it's hard to be non-biased here because I obviously represent a company that stands to have a monetary profit, right? So I will muster up with as much non-bias as possible. My goal to ban anything that's not a hitbox branded hitbox. Like we're saying that we want to be ahead, or we want to be like, if there is a rule discussion, we want to be part of it because we're subject matter experts on the topic. That's true.
You've been in the game the longest, so like officially the longest, I would say. I actually don't know if that's true. I believe that to be true. Is that
I believe that to be true as well. In my
think of any
knowledge,
other companies that have been.
I'm a filthy 09 or 08er, Soul Calibur 4.
Yeah,
so I can't really imagine anyone before that, because everything before Mad Cat's era is pretty like unknown to me at this point in terms of controllers, right?
Well, that mostly that made it. Oh, man, we're gonna have to get into the whole. All right, we're actually not gonna get into the whole history of like the popularization of like U.S. like personal fight sticks and even like the word fight stick and where that even comes from.
Right. Very, very different podcast.
Yeah,
but
get yourself a tournament edition, baby. TE2, that thing's the lifeblood of the FGC. Don't even kid yourself.
Very true. But when Daigo, or I have to stop saying Daigo's hitbox because it's not. When the Gafro box got banned, we were against it. Dreading a little backstory here. I was actually dreading making that tweet because we were on site on Combo Breaker about to tweet something that Combo Breaker may or may not like, because we wanted to be sure that we know we had zero hand in this, number one, and number two, we do actually believe that button controllers should be legal, including what was the Gaffer box. We had no problem with second input priority, other than we just chose not to use it. I made that tweet with as much respect to Rick and CPT. Rick came by after he saw that tweet. It was kosher with him. But so with all the respect to the event and CPT at the time, we said, look, guys, we'll abide by this rule set. We do think that the ban was not necessary, so to speak. So we want to get in front of it. We just want people to be operating with accurate information more than anything else. Right. Because like no one really knows what the benefit is of up overriding down, or left and right being neutral, or left and right being right plus left being left. No one really knows the benefit that we do. Or rather, no one has all the answers to that. We believe that we do, because that has been our job for the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years.
There aren't a lot of people who've been following this for basically like the last decade that it's been around. And because it has just come to light, like come to fruition, oh, dang, like, hey man, 2016 happened. There's a ton of new players. Like the FGC has grown exponentially from like even the 09er years, where even like personal controllers really had mad cat's growth into the system. Like, Like we're in it,
which is great, honestly.
I know it really is. Like the work done by Markman and Mad Cats has been like thank fucking God, seriously, to have like a good working controller that is reliable and like buttons that fucking work and don't feel gummy. Oh, so many gummy buttons. Oh, so many gummy buttons historically, but no, I digress. But to have all that good shit and then to like work all through that through the 2008, 2009 to like all the way through that era, and then 2016, a whole new era of players who have no idea what happened. Which that is okay to have no idea. You weren't there. That's fine. I'm glad that you're here playing fighting games, but also just history lesson. Here's how these controllers work, and to educate people is somewhat important now because it seems like no one knows what the fuck is going on, and public outrage is where money is made. So it's
yeah, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side of the equation you're at.
You're kind of on both, honestly. So
I will not. I will neither confirm nor deny the accuracy of that statement. Let's put it that way.
Oh, fuck. Anyway. Hey, folks, you're guaranteed that a Hitbox branded Hitbox will be okay at the next tournament. Shake the hand in. Where's my money? Where's my money, Sora? It's in the mail, right?
Hey, all I said, all I said is on that official article.
Which we'll also get to because after. All right, so back to the timeline. Oh man, all these fucking digressions. I gotta stop this shit. All right, so after Capcom makes their statement, this is early Friday morning. Like, I'm sure everyone worked through the night, and like, bless them. Thank you to all the Capcom staff on site to even make that happen. And the Combo Breaker staff to figure the shit out. Like, I'm sure they were pulling hair. I'm sure no one got any sleep Thursday night into Friday, and then that's when you start this fucking mad dash to Sunday night. Like, oh, bless them, bless all of them. But Rick says on Twitter.com to clarify the statement, clarity. Hitbox and button controllers are legal at Combo Breaker 2019. The specific controller that Daigo has made notable this week was barred from use in the CPT bracket. I'm syncing CPT reps up with the Hitbox so they can best understand and review the device for potential future tournament use. So like even he's out there being like, you know what? This is banned right now for just the CPT bracket. Just this device, just this bracket. This is what our community says okay. They'll figure that stuff out later. Passing the buck off to them for CEO in a month.
Wait, okay.
Or like the ranking event that's like fucking this week. Is there a ranking? Hold on.
There's a ranking event this week. DreamHack Dallas.
Yeah, DreamHack. Yeah, DreamHack is this weekend. Fuck, it's happening like now.
Yeah, yeah. And guess who's running that? Jabali.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
The wheel does not fucking stop, man. I tell you what. That's this fucking weekend. But again, glad that Capcom made that vague statement to say whatever the ruling is here is the ruling it is here, which the community has standards for this, so we're going by those standards. Anyway, that was Rick's statement. And then Punk goes on to win Combo Breaker because he's a fucking unstoppable force right now. Fuck, man, he's really good, isn't he?
I think it was Ruin who made the tweet. No, it wasn't. It was some other notable person that said, while everyone was focusing on hitboxes, two filthy pad players go on and win, and go on and take number 1 and number 2 at Combo Breaker. It's like, you know what? That conspiracy theory is spot on.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Punk's great, and the fact that he's even using Karen is even more.
I mean, he just wrecks shop with her. He's so good at what he does, and that character complements him so well that like he's just fucking killing it right now. Hopefully,
3 out of the 4 CPT.
What's that?
3 out of the 4 he won.
Yes,
one that he didn't win, he got second.
Yeah, he's definitely number 1 in ranking right now. So hopefully your bracket seeding will reflect that, tournaments, because there's no seeding rules in the CPT. So whoever runs their bracket, just fucking cheat all you want. Cheat until someone fixes it, I guess. I don't know. To quote Daigo, fuck. Fuck. Anyway, so Pug goes on to win. Awesome. And then Hitbox comes out with an official statement on Hitbox's website to kind of...
This morning.
Yeah, that was this morning. To clear the air. Is there anything on that? I don't know if you want to read the whole statement in its entirety. It's kind of long. People should read it. It'll be linked in the show notes, that's for sure. But yeah. What's like the main takeaway from
sure.
That, if you could summarize?
So I'll even provide the backstory. Like, there was concern in the team of like what to even say, because we knew that there was like confusion in the air for sure, right? As soon as Countbreaker ended, I knew we were going to have to adjust it at some way, shape, or form. Like we could make a call for legal talks to happen or something like that. We could reach out to players, we could reach out to TOs, but ultimately, what we put the priority on is our players. Sounds frilly, I know, but like you have a good, I don't know what our market share at this point, but a considerable size, a non-zero value percent of FGC people play on Hitbox, now unsure of the legality. We may be more sure of it, or at least more in the know of it, but definitely the ones that don't tune into to FGC News 24/7 don't.
Right.
So we wanted to say, look, guys, we don't have all the answers, but here are all the answers we know. Number 1, hitboxes are still legal. That never changed from this event. Our legality was never in question. Number 2, here's the details we know of the box that Daigo had been using up until that point. Number 3, here's what we're doing. Any efforts to kind of reach out, because like I said, we want to be in front of these discussions. We believe we can contribute to it. But yeah, that's all the article says. Really. And reassuring our Hitbox owners that yes, we are on top of it.
I appreciate, and this is kind of why I wanted you on the show today as well, because the main take here is spreading information to people who aren't informed, because there were a lot of people on our Street Fighter who were just either uninformed or confused about the whole situation, to where it's like, well, let's just get it out here. This has been kind of figured out already. The community has self-corrected. There just aren't official rules. And in some sense, there's part of me, again, who feels like there really shouldn't be official rules, because that doesn't feel FGC to me. If an event says that, if Capcom came out tomorrow and said, officially, you have to have side-by-side, you cannot have facing, or if they said you have to have like dual monitor setups for your event, it's like, well, that doesn't sound good. Like, I don't want that, because then you lose a little bit of what makes events special to what they are, for what the community grew them as. So to pass the buck off to communities like this to decide, well, you guys have already decided what controllers you want. Trust me, folks, the people who are running these events we're not blindsided by this. They weren't like, hitboxes is that illegal? No, like Jabali fucking knows. He's fucking been aware of this shit. He's not a dullard. Like Mr.
Tom
Wizard
Cannon
knows. Like Tom
Cannon tweeted.
Cannon absolutely knows.
on the weekends and just saying like emo hitboxes rock. Like the people,
Yeah.
the people behind the big events at the very least, definitely knew what they were talking about because they were along with us when this issue was getting figured out.
They have been around for long enough. They've been ingrained in the community long enough to know the difference between a controller that is quote unquote cheating and a controller that isn't, because it has been cleared up. And in that sense, if this is something that you don't know about, listener, and you're like, well, what are the actual, what's the nitty gritty here? I'll also link, which I don't know why you would. I mean, maybe you would. I don't care. I've also linked another thread in the show notes. This one from Wireman, who took the time to make a very long Twitter thread of like, here's how it works, like, and here's how the community has decided on this stuff, like, over the years. I mean, there was also a Kotaku article on this stuff like a while ago, like the week before.
Shout outs to Ian to the Max.
Yeah, Ian to the Max.
That was relatively well researched.
Yeah, I mean, he knows what he's fucking talking about. Like he knows. I'll link that as well in the show notes, because that kind of followed this situation as well, where it's like, to me, I was not like blindsided by this, and like, it's okay. Hey, listener, if you're blindsided by this, that's okay. Like, it's okay to have not been around for like the last decade of controller inputs and what the community has decided to be okay on this stuff. That's fine. It's okay. Hitboxes are fine. Play on a hitbox, try it out. You might hate it. And that's fine. That's fine too.
I would be surprised if you loved it off the bat. Honestly, that was my legit. That was my reaction.
That shit on the back of the box, please.
That was my reaction to people that were like, "Oh my god, I am in love with this thing!" Like on the first 5 minutes, right? Like if you've been on it for like 10 minutes, what I typically expect is people saying, I get it now. I get it now. Usually it takes about 10 minutes, but like literally, some people were sitting down and were like, I'm in love with this thing. I'm like, huh? Like, man. Really? I mean, I'm glad, but really?
That's surprising, honestly.
Which it was no less surprising to me, because like there is a learning curve. It does get taking used to. I think it's worth it, but man, there are some people that are just like in tune with it even more than I am.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also in my opinion, it makes 3D fighting games like movement control a lot easier, but that's just like my opinion. Like, it's
ridiculous on Tekken. Even more than
Tekken,
Street Fighter.
Korean backdash is like that's fucking light work. Please, on a hitbox, get out of here.
It's free. Like everyone I demonstrated KBDs to over the event were like, what? So yeah, that was always the reaction.
You want to pull out electrics for free? Easy. Mm-hmm. Easy. I mean, I'm not like super easy, because you got to just frame it, but at the same time, easy. Come on, people.
Yeah, about as easy as it's gonna get.
Yeah,
honestly, about as easy as it's gonna get.
But regardless, this is where we're at. This is where the community is at, and we're moving forward with it. And for right now, events will decide what the ruling is, and if you sit down next to someone at the next tournament that you're at and they're using a hitbox type input controller, and you want to have them button check to make sure that everything's kosher, have them button check for you to make sure it's legal. I would not be offended if someone was like, hey, make sure that shit isn't like tied to like a macro, because like macros not allowed to have one button DP. No, that's not how it works. You got to do that shit yourself, even if it is, or like quote unquote, easier to do on a hitbox, then you at least have to do the input. Anyway, that's where we're at. That brings us to today, which
is about almost as weird, if not weirder, than where we were at Combo Breaker.
Yeah.
Because Daigo streaming on a hitbox, which I never thought. Hitbox, mind you.
Well, yeah, he's like a hitbox branded hitbox, mind you.
Branded hitbox.
Yeah, not just a hitbox. Go fuck yourself, hitbox. A straight up HB. So the quick and dirty story of that is
I had a fanboy moment at Combo Breaker because we had tried I'm gonna be just transparent here. We tried to reach out to Daigo, but the problem is we didn't speak Japanese. We hired a translator over the weekend. Translator then says, okay, as soon as Daigo's done with his bracket, then we can set up the formal meeting where we can talk with him straight in his face and do like a formal demo and everything like that, right? Because we think that since Hitbox Burn Hitbox just weren't in Japan yet, we are kind of now, but not as prevalent.
You don't
that like, Daigo just doesn't.
Do you even ship to Japan? I don't even know.
We do. Now we do.
All right.
But we ship through like wholesalers and stuff like that. Our distribution problem is a whole mess in itself. But long story short, we are now starting to become present in the Japanese market.
Right.
We kind of figured like maybe Daigo just doesn't know like the differences between the gaffer box and the HP. Maybe he'll like once he finds out what an HP can do, then maybe he'll okay, maybe this is better or this works. We didn't really care as long as he was operating with accurate information, right? That was the most important thing to us, is that he had accurate information and he can make that informed decision by himself. It was set. Sunday, top 24, 48 was happening. Daigo loses, gets out on 17th. The booth for a meeting much later on in the day, because Daigo probably has to cool off. No less than 15 minutes later, I was playing with my phone, looked up and saw Daigo with absolutely no entourage. Just standing in front, no one behind him.
Wow,
a goofy grin.
Just wanted to check it out.
Correct. And I shit my pants. So I'm like, we had no translator on deck.
We're not ready for this. The meeting isn't until later this evening.
We absolutely were not ready. I contacted the translator. Translator says, I'm not even sure why he's down there already. So we were like, oh my God. So we tried with as much broken English/Japanese as we could. Okay, would you like to try one? He decides to sit on one. That ends up being a 45-minute training session. Over two of the setups. We had 3 setups. We took over 2. One had Guile, one had Ryu. That way we could demonstrate everything from sonic booms, flash kick, dashing, shoryukens, all that. And between us and the Reddit viewers, the tech that he was most interested in was SOCD dash. You could hold forward and then just tap back and you will get a dash.
Yeah.
Because you go back into neutral and then when you release back, you'll get forward again.
Yeah. That was to me is like a weird thing, by the way. It's like whenever that happens, I'm like, whoa, oh yeah, that's a thing. It makes dashing super easy.
Exactly. You don't have to tap, release, tap again. You can just tap, release once, and you're good. That was a tech he was like visibly taken, like wow kind of thing. So we go through the whole demo process. He was reasonably pleased throughout that. We gave him a hitbox. He returns later with another Japanese player. I have his Twitter handle there. I'll pull it up in a bit. It comes in with the Doctor Strange like phrase, "Teach me," holding a hitbox. We teach him as well, and they both leave happy. Next thing I know, Daigo's in Japan streaming on a hitbox. So that's how that entire thing happened.
Cool. Well, at least he has a hitbox style controller that he knows will be approved for the next tournament, at least.
Until he wins on one.
And then we're gonna have this whole fucking conversation over again, and people be like, "He's a fucking cheater." And it's like, well, what are we fucking doing?
He wins
guys?
on one, I think.
What does like the last decade fucking even mean if like this is where we're at? Fucking goddamn it. But no, I mean that'd be rad. I think that's cool. I don't know. Get the shit banned.
I mean that's kind of the crux now where we are. Honestly, I don't know if you were planning to talk about this, and please feel free to stop me. Did you by chance already read the FTC translated of Fudo and Daigo talking in their hotel room?
I saw snippets of it. I didn't see the whole thing. What wasn't it that Fudo specifically says, like, if you like cheat all you want, right?
Pretty much.
Or something along those lines.
Something along those lines. So I'm gonna give you like the 2-minute summary. Daigo and Fudo's being surprised that this blew up to be a thing. This was, I believe, filmed before we gave him his hitbox.
Yeah, this was. Ooh, if I
Friday
get like the timeline on this was. I want to say this was even like. Was this Wednesday?
He was in the hotel room. That's all we really knew.
Okay. Maybe Thursday. But early they were there. It was like as soon as they had gotten there that they had.
Right. Fudo Daigo being surprised that people were talking about it. Daigo saying that Fudo is the captain of the Anti-Stick Absolutionist Society, which was hilarious to me. We reached out to Fudo, by the way, too, but he didn't respond. And Fudo essentially saying, and I'm in full agreement about this, let's say hitboxes were banned.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the reasoning behind that? What like, to what extent can you push the ability of a controller to make the game more accessible,
right.
Allow for easier inputs before you have to say
banned?
And number two, why would that be banned, right? Like, what would be the reason? Nobody has really found that line yet, not even Hitbox.
Right.
We put our line on the sand. I'm not sure that everyone agrees with that line, but we put the line on the sand. So that to me is like, philosophically, in this whole like legality conversation, that's where this is going to go. Is along the lines of what Fudo's thinking in terms of where do we actually define what could and cannot be done by a controller. For us, we think it's pad. If a pad can do it, any stick can do it, any hitbox should be able to do it. Default controller, it will come with every single device that you buy your games on.
Right.
But that is a philosophy that we could talk for hours on in here and debate about it.
I mean, that's kind of what the history is based on for these controllers. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, I'm in agreement. Hey, can you make me a stick that prevents me from teching defensively when I should just take? Can you like make one that makes better decisions for me? Because like I'm still gonna tech and I'm still gonna get counter hit and curse myself. Honestly, that's the thing to me, is that there's almost no controller out there, even people who use controllers that are, because it happens, there are people that wire their controllers poorly. I forget who it was that had like a stick get, or a DS4 get like switched up on them, and they took someone else's, and the R2 was, if you like half pulled it, it held up, or if you fully depressed the trigger, it did up and kick, which is like a cheaty thing. But also, that person didn't win that event, and it probably didn't even, like, having a cheaty input doesn't help you stand in the right position. It doesn't help you understand like your opponent at all. It doesn't get you in the head of your opponent. Me having a button that does an immediate DP does not necessarily help me. That just puts it in the mind of my opponent that they can't jump at me, and then they'll adapt, and now what? Now I have a button that does fucking nothing. That's worthless. Like, I don't know. To me, it's just like, fucking let it rock, because I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion, but having an input device that helps you. And there's also like an accessibility part of this as well, to me. That's like, if there's something that helps players play and enjoy the game, then fine. Because getting to the point where you can start thinking about your opponent is like the next level of learning fighting games. That if we can get any amount of players to that level and like stop worrying so much about like what they're doing with their hands, then to me, I'm like, word. Later on, like there's there's manual input stuff that like comes later. There's very technical stuff, like frame perfect stuff that like, that's where some technical, like physical skill comes into play that separates some players. But like the mentality is really where players are beaten. But I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox.
No problem. It's a soapbox I definitely agree with you on, so to speak.
Right. Well, now that we're done being friends for an hour,
we've been done for being friends for like ever at this point. Yeah.
No, all right, man. That'll basically wrap up the show. Is there anything that you want to pitch before we close up? Any kind of closing thoughts here?
No, just I guess two things. Number one, I'm like, we have a spirit of transparency for Hitbox.
Mm-hmm.
I've been spending a good deal of my time just answering people's questions, making myself as available as possible. So do reach out to me if you have any sort of concerns about like at this point or didn't address that point. Like Hitbox players and anyone interested in Hitbox are of no surprise very technical. Like I had one person call me out earlier, rightfully, say, well, a one frame Sonic Boom is technically still possible in Hitbox if you were able to just frame a left and right. I'm like, wow, how difficult is that actually? But anyway.
It's also like possible. The whole thing with that, side note, you could just do like a charge buffered Sonic Boom. You could do back, forward, back, then punch, and you're automatically charging.
Hey, man.
Like
I said.
That shit's like Chapter 5 in Geef's Gym. What the fuck are you people even doing? What the fuck?
Like I said, people will nitpick about this all day, and I'm here to answer any all questions. So that's one.
Glad number that you two, guys have made yourselves available. More information from more people. I'm for it.
Exactly. Number two, you did want to shout out everyone on the Hitbox team last combo breaker. Everyone made it out of pools, which is fantastic for a combo breaker. We got our highest placer was 17th at DBFC. I got out of pools, which is the most surprising thing. Wow. I got 25th in Soul Calibur. And for Street Fighter, Piano Densetsu, who has been the most recent hitbox changer, got out of pulse and I think won once before losing to Arturo at some point. So
follow Piano Densetsu on Twitter, and also if you're into like classical renditions of like piano renditions of like old Street Fighter songs, like
100%.
Check his shit out. He's like a super talented like musician.
Super talented. super talented piano player. Yeah. Very much makes sense that he's hitbox player. Very nice guy in person. Yeah. My first time meeting him in person was at Combo Breaker. So yeah, like team hitbox did work last weekend, which is great.
It's good news.
So all the pitch I have. Really?
All right. Well, that'll wrap up a show. Unfortunately, this isn't your I was going to say unfortunately this isn't your first time on the show, but I mean that's good. But we usually send off the show in the same way whenever ask people what their has your favorite normal or favorite combo changed in last we talked?
Oh my gosh.
Have you thought about those questions at all?
Honestly, favorite combo still is low forward Karen into Tenko into EX.
Last time didn't you say lightning loops? I think you said lightning loops.
I did say lightning loops, but like now Karen's BNB is so satisfying to me at this point.
That's fair. You got to just
so that is
very good.
Very true. Favorite normal Ivy's B6, which is where she extends her whips literally like a, for the lack of a better term, Indiana Jones whip fashion, where it's like all it's missing is the whoosh sound.
Yeah, just like the Crystal Skull, my favorite movie. It's the best one of the Indiana Jones films.
That is my favorite normal, especially because it got buffed in the last patch. So yeah, that's my favorite normal.
All right, cool. Sorry to like kind of speed run you through that. I just figured that People should also go back and listen to the old show. I might even link it in the show notes. But anyway, folks, that's a show. There was no East Coast tournament this week, but there was a post on reddit.com where I linked a whole bunch of people who frequent the tournament. I got all their streams. I listed them out, so I know that they stream often. So go look at that list. I even broke it out by character, so you can, whoever you want to see who's out there. I know that there's a lot of people on the grind out there, so please go ahead and check out those people's streams. They put in a lot of work, and they're very strong players. Definitely worth a follow, at least on Twitch, if not Twitter. I don't know. Go give them your support, or steal their tech. That's the real one right there. Or learn how to beat them in the weekly on Monday or Friday. And other than that, we'll be around next Thursday with another edition of RSF Radio. But until then, folks, take care.